Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Power of Advocacy. My name is JoAnns Clynch. I am a member of the Florida Chapter Board and chair of the Florida Advocacy Committee. And I'm so thrilled to be with you today. And I saw a lot of people chatting, and it's great to have you all here. So I will share my screen and share with you some exciting things that are going on with advocacy in our world today. So first, just wanted to share with you that we have an exciting day planned. Today, you'll be hearing from many of the nation's foremost experts on ALS, and there's a lot going on, a lot of hope, and I'm just as excited as you to hear and see all these presentations. But if we are to succeed in our mission to end suffering and death from ALS, it won't just happen in a research lab. This movement must include frontline, on the ground, personal engagement at the state capitol and in Congress. And it must be led by volunteers, regular people whose lives have been significantly impacted by ALS. So we must rally together and really work together to make sure that we achieve our goals. The power of advocacy, though, really relies on stories. It's a collective sum of our individual stories. Meaningful stories and experiences are no doubt key ingredients of great advocates, and they help us drive our continuing relentless pursuit of a cure. And in fact, many advocates share their story and connection with ALS to help legislators connect with us and really understand the realities of living with the disease. So before we go any further, I'd just like to share my story with you about my mom. I call this particular story my mashed potato story. My story is specifically about a day and a conversation between my mom and I that I will never forget how I felt that day. So in order for you to really appreciate my mashed potato story, it's important that you know my parents and I, well, there was just the three of us. I was an only child, and we were inseparable. We were just the inseparable three, and we had a magic. I guess you could think of us as a regular family living life and loving it. And we like to cook and we love to eat. And well, my mom pretty much made the best mashed potatoes I've ever had until she could no longer move. So one day, before my mom lost the ability to speak, she motioned to me that she had something really important for me to say. And she could barely whisper, and it was very difficult for me to understand, but she managed to tell me it is very important to soak your peeled potatoes in cold water first before you boil them to make really good mashed potatoes. So I really could barely choke out a reply because I was trying with all my might to smile, fight back the tears, knowing our time was running out. And I'll never forget the deep sadness I felt as my mom struggled to speak and we tried to have a normal conversation. So the mashed potato conversation was one of our last, and it made me deeply saddened. And that really was a moment in time that defined me, and really in tough times when the going is rough. I just think about the disease and how it rocked our world. But no matter what, it didn't rip apart her spirit. I remember when she passed, even the nurses sobbed and shared with us that, we were the dedicated family. And that's just how my mom was and my dad is. So you can really see that today is more about mashed potatoes and my story. It's really about each of your stories, how we share them, and collectively, how we can advocate together. And importantly, more importantly, how we connect with others who know much less about ALS. It's very important we personalize our stories. I definitely love to meet each of you and hear your stories. I really would, and I'm so excited you're here. We are driven by our mission, a very important mission, and we will continue until a cure. We can't wait. It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when we find a cure for ALS. The ALS Association is the organization that covers all of the bases by funding research, providing care, and leading advocacy. The ALS Association empowers volunteers to influence change and impact the future of ALS. I really hope you join us. Over the last few years, the ALS community has seen dramatic increases in funding because of our advocates. There have also been innovations and new approaches to care services programs and substantial wins in the regulatory environment. I know many of you that I've met before and worked with are on this call, and I'm so excited you're here. And for those of you who are interested in joining, please sign up to be an advocate. Imagine what we have done and what we can do. What would you do if you really believed that your actions right now, today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today would catapult the discoveries for treatment and a cure? What if you really felt that your words, actions, and steps would make a difference and an impact? Well, the Florida advocates, many of whom you see here, tirelessly pursue and deliver results that directly contribute to incredible progress. I'm so proud of the team. I've been fascinated by the butterfly effect, which many of you may have heard of. It's really, it was published by a mathematician back in the 60s and then in the 70s. And essentially he studied chaos theory and discovered that a small flutter could change the world. He really demonstrated that the outcome is not based on a set of sequences that are very linear and really happen in a discrete fashion, step by step, but that this flutter can really change the world. I believe that's true in advocacy, and I've seen it firsthand. Really, that one person, maybe even you, maybe someone with us today, may set off a flutter that will hasten a cure. So I challenge each of us to be the flutter that ripples throughout Florida, so we ultimately form an even stronger connected network of advocates across the state. Our Florida advocates certainly drive results, both on the federal level and the state level. When Medicare said it would take away communication devices if a person with ALS was on hospice or in a hospital during the rental period, we said no. With Congress's help, they listened. When Medicare said it would relegate power wheelchair attachments and accessories to a program fraught with problems known as competitive bidding, we said no. They listened. When the FDA said they could not draft and implement an industry guidance document for pharmaceutical companies pursuing treatments for ALS, we said, oh yes, you can, and they did. And now we have over half of Congress agreeing that waiting 5 months for Social Security, disability, and Medicare is too long. We have seen the state of Florida invest heavily to ensure that Floridians living with ALS also have access to important multidisciplinary clinical care they need. And that brings me to the Bittner Plant initiative, a very important initiative for us here in Florida. And a lot of work was done from some excellent advocates. At the end of June, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis approved $800,000 in state funding for the Bittner Plant ALS initiative of Florida. The initiative provides support for ALS patients seeking treatment at multidisciplinary ALS clinics located at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, University of South Florida in Tampa, University of Miami, and UF Jacksonville. This year's appropriation was an increase over $100K over the funding received from the previous fiscal year. And mind you, that's in a pandemic year. So Representative Travis Cummings, Senator Aaron P. Bean, Representative Holly Rothstein, and Representative Marilyn Mager, and Senator Rob Bradley all served as champions for the Bittner Plant initiative throughout the state's budget planning season, and we thank them. Please be sure to thank the governor as well as your state senator and state representative for their support of Bittner Plant. And be sure to tag ALS Florida on social media. Now it's the time to set your power of advocacy into action. We can't wait. We had an exciting virtual advocacy day that we had 53 delegates. We communicated with all 29 offices. It was a multi-day event. We advocated for funding for ALS research and explained the realities of living with ALS. We thank them for their support, especially during the pandemic. It was a very exciting and wonderful day with a lot of people here on this call involved, and we thank you. Through it all, we helped to paint a picture for members of Congress and their staff that clearly demonstrated the role our government needs to play in the fight against ALS. And it's really important that we know where we're going and take the proper action to get there, and we have. You know, other illnesses like cancer, heart disease, AIDS, they really got the attention of the federal government, and that's where we need to be. So we really, like the great champion Wayne Gretzky, we need to continue to skate where the puck is going, not where it has been. So if you haven't already signed up, please do. Please be an ALS advocate. You'll get alerts. They make it very easy for us on the website. And I just want to recap by thanking you. You know, through active participation, we've eliminated the waiting periods. We've increased federal funding at both the Department of Defense, National Institutes of Health. We've worked with the CDC to lead the efforts on the biorepository and implemented historic regulations at the Department of Veterans Affairs, designating ALS as a service-connected disease. It really takes all of us and each of you. Thank you for your time today. Please communicate with me, and thank you for supporting our mission to eliminate ALS. May you spread hope throughout our state, and please don't forget to share your story. Enjoy the rest of the symposium. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.